Yeah.
Like, there's a way to be a good man and still be cool and sexy and successful and care about money and like all of those things. You can do both.
Yeah. Now let me tell you about the greatest protection racket in human history, the patriarchy.
Came out swinging.
Because dude's gay as fuck and using terms like nuclear family and had to pretend to be straight.
Get ready for season 2 because we are bringing in the specialist of not coddling men's egos. You're listening to the Phallacies podcast, episode 10, the last episode of season 1. What makes a man strong?
Fallacies, 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 fallacies.
Okay,
Okay.
take it away, intro man.
Welcome to the Phallacies podcast, where we challenge and deconstruct ideas, attitudes, prejudices, misconceptions, aka fallacies, about what it means to be a man. Also, happy Pride Month.
Hey, look at that. If you couldn't tell,
We love the gays
he's
here.
looking good.
We
We do love the gays and the days. Thank you for that intro. And the ethos of our show, the quote we say every episode. Often it is only after immense intellectual effort that may have continued for centuries that humanity at last succeeds in achieving knowledge of a concept in its pure form by stripping off the irrelevant accretions which keep it veiled from the eyes of the mind. Mr. Gottlob Frege.
Love that.
Our man.
That's so good.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Okay.
So here we are,
Uh-huh.
episode 10, the season finale.
Uh-huh.
Can't believe we got here.
Uh-huh.
What are we talking about?
I know. Most experienced podcasters are probably like 10 episodes and that's your season finale. Hey, this is hard. It's hard doing this.
I think so.
But
it's
also,
even harder for you.
But also like a season, there's just something about 10 episodes that felt like a good container
Yeah.
in this, what started out as an experiment. And I think we have a much better idea of where we want to take the show next. So it just felt right to cap the season, heavy quotes, whatever that means,
Yeah.
off at 10.
Yeah.
So here we are. What we're talking about is kind of what we have been working up towards with our topics. I'm sure most people haven't listened to every single episode, but you could probably look at the topics and understand that we've kind of been trying to build a new standard for what we think strength should be. We've talked about privilege. We've talked about gender roles. We've talked about homophobia. We've talked about body count, Donald Trump. Like, we're trying to cover all the different aspects of your own like character and your psyche that men encounter, and build to kind of this idea of strength. So our topic is, what is a strong man?
Yeah, the manosphere certainly has some ideas about what strength is in men.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about it last episode with is Donald Trump a strong man?
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of that comes from the manosphere. Like, oh, of course he's strong, he's powerful.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so I like this as sort of a counter to that. Like, okay, let's put forth an alternative version or archetype of what a strong man is.
Yeah.
Because I think there's those people out there who are really searching for that answer, you know, how to lean into their masculinity. They identify as a man, and they want to embrace that, but they're not sure the right way to do that or how. And
Right.
so hopefully this provides something.
Yeah. And we can get more into this later, but I think part of what is so alluring about the manosphere is that they're willing to give answers.
Yeah.
And young men tend to want answers. I did. I remember buying an ebook when I was 13 years old about like how to date women. Like you're curious and there's like an insecurity and like you want to know, and you have all these feelings and these urges about who you want to be, all these things. And yeah, the manosphere does provide answers about what it means to be a man, as misguided, overly simplified, reductive, emotional as those answers they give tend to be. At least they're giving something. And I think that's why they've become an effective pipeline for young men. And so,
I don't know if they're giving anything. I think they're selling something.
yeah.
Cute that you had ebooks when you were 13. We didn't have anything when I was 13, just for the record. But anyway.
Nice.
Okay, good stuff.
So, yeah.
I'm excited. And I think we want to kind of do a lot of things tonight. We're going to recap some things from the other episodes.
Yes.
Want to fact check a couple things, look at some, favorite comments. And
We're going to be looking at some clips online. We're going to be pulling some of our favorite mean comments from people, favorite clips. And towards the end, we are also going to be talking more about season 2 and teasing something or someone that is very exciting.
Yeah, I'm really excited about that.
Yes.
All right. Well, should we
Let's
do a
dive
couple
in.
of our traditions here?
Yes. Okay. Pick a card, any card.
All right. This episode of Fallacies is brought to you by the logical fallacy of anecdotal.
Oh, that was a good one.
Using personal experience or an isolated example instead of a valid argument, especially to dismiss statistics. Never. Who would ever do something like that? No. Example, Jason said that was all cool and everything, but his grandfather smoked like 30 cigarettes a day and lived until 97. So don't believe everything you read about meta-analyses of sound studies showing proven causal relationships.
Okay,
So-
let's dumb that down a little bit.
Yeah, so science...
cigarettes aren't bad for you. My grandpa lived until he was 90, and he's chain smoked.
Exactly.
Oh, your one piece of anecdotal evidence somehow negates the millions who have died from lung cancer.
Refutes the peer-reviewed, incredibly sound, rigorous studies.
Right.
Yeah, right. George Burns lived until he was, 100 years old and smoked cigars every day?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, should we get right into... Oh, I guess we should explain our ring a little bit.
We should explain our ring. We've got a shot to do. We've got a few things here.
So for the ring this episode, we are not going to be doing the usual conservative versus progressive ring. What we instead are going to do is infuse a little bit of ourselves into the ring, which, doesn't happen because we've been steel manning positions all season. So Charlie's going to present a very quick case about what he thinks strength should be defined as. And then I'm going to also give mine, and we'll do a little mini ring asking each other Socratic questions to kind of clarify that. But it's not going to be the usual red versus blue that we traditionally do.
Right.
So let's go ahead and get into it.
All right. What do we have? What are we drinking?
We've got clear... I shouldn't be doing this like it's a sponsor. Clearwater vodka.
Okay.
That's labeled with my name because I take it to a BYOB club.
That is very cute.
See?
Dash. You should put your phone number on there in case you lose it.
Oh, by the way, BYOB clubs are rad. Free drinks. There's just bartenders, and you go, hey, my name's Dash. They grab my bottle from below, and then they make me a vodka cocktail. It's rad.
That's cool.
People probably have no idea what I'm talking about. They're like, why is it BYOB? Because Utah has weird liquor laws, and event companies have come up with all sorts of creative ways to get around it. That's why. All right, sir. As always,
To our man,
Gottlieb. Fariga. All right. So you're gonna start us off.
Well, yeah. Do you want to get right into the ring? We want to do that first. Present our kind of strong man archetypes, and then we'll do the other stuff after that.
Yeah.
All right, let's do it.
Okay. Ding 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 ding.
Hi, I'm Charlie, and I'll be talking about what I think makes a strong man. We've spent 9 episodes doing something the manosphere finds deeply uncomfortable: thinking. What we found is that their definition of masculinity is almost entirely negative. A real man is not gay, not feminine, not emotional, not vulnerable. But if you define yourself exclusively by what you're not, you've instantly surrendered 50% of your potential. That's not a strong man, that's a half-built one. So tonight, I want to offer an architecture built on aspiration. I'm borrowing a framework from Da Vinci, the Vitruvian Man. A male body inscribed in both a circle and a square. 8 attributes, 4 philosophical in the head and heart, 4 action-oriented in the arms and legs. The first attribute of the mind is curiosity. When he encounters conflict, his first instinct isn't to attack or defend, it's to ask. Curiosity is the most practical form of empathy. Next is abundance mindset. He doesn't hoard resources or privilege. He operates from abundance, the conviction that there's enough money, enough power, enough love for everyone to have their fill. The strong man builds the table with enough seats for everybody. Residing in the heart is the attribute of love. Love is the opposite of fear. It's an investment in the spiritual growth and well-being of another person. The manosphere calls that being a simp. We call it being a fully realized human being. The next heart attribute is confidence. Real confidence is quiet, steady, action-oriented. Strong men don't perform fake masculinity for the male gaze. They aren't threatened by the strength of others. They're attracted to it. The man who needs everyone around him smaller isn't confident. He's compensating. The first action attribute is the right arm of effort. A strong man works physically, intellectually, emotionally. He notices the work of others and he matches it equitably. He shows up with presence and tangible effort. The other arm is empowerment. A strong man doesn't give a person a fish. He teaches them to fish, builds the pond, and shares the catch. His strength is not diminished by the strength of those around him. It's multiplied by it. Residing in the legs is the attribute of accountability. A strong man walks toward accountability. He admits mistakes, apologizes, asks for help. Accountability is self-awareness in action. Finally, the second leg of safety. A strong man is a safe space for women and other marginalized people. He leads with his own vulnerability so others feel permission to be vulnerable too. The manosphere tells men to wall off their emotions and calls it strength. We've spent 9 episodes showing what's hiding behind those walls. These 8 traits aren't exclusively male. In fact, the manosphere would call many of them feminine, and we take that as a compliment. Women embody them. Non-binary people have them. Everyone can and should possess them. The strongest men have them too. Da Vinci wasn't just measuring the body. He was measuring the potential. And the potential of a man who is curious, abundant, loving, confident, empowering, effortful, accountable, and safe is, like the circle that contains him, limitless.
Nice. I really like that.
Thanks.
I really like that. All right. I liked that a lot. So I'm going to ask you a few clarifying questions on your Vitruvian man.
Okay.
I really, really liked it. Genuine.
Thank you.
Just so everybody knows, we don't prepare these together. We kind of bring them and we get to see what we did. And his is lovely. So you have these 8 traits, nicely put into a framework with the Vitruvian man. So I'm curious, will you tell me more about abundance?
Yeah. So this came up a lot, I think, in almost every episode. We talk about it a lot when men feel, it's usually men, I guess everybody can feel this, but they feel threatened when somebody else is gaining something, right? So as women get more rights or minorities get more rights, oftentimes, and you put it best in one of the clips, oftentimes those in power feel threatened by other people like gaining power or privilege. I can't remember the exact way you phrased it.
Equality feels like oppression to those who have been in power.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly right. That comes from a scarcity mindset, right? Like, oh, there's only a finite amount of power or privilege or other resources out there. So if somebody else is getting more, that means they're taking part of my share, so I have less. They feel threatened. That's why they lash out. That's why they oppress. That's why they colonize.
Right.
Is because of that scarcity mindset. It's a very fear-based mindset that came from our earliest days as humans when we did have to, fight for resources, hoard resources to stay alive.
Yeah.
That's where tribalism comes from. But.
Yeah, and it does feel like a callback. We talked a lot about zero-sum games,
Right.
which you mentioned in it. And I feel like that's something that a lot of men do struggle with. And I don't know if that's maybe because we've been involved in sports for so much of our life. And sports are like one of the few areas of life that actually is a zero-sum game. One team has to lose, one team has to win. But like most of life, careers, families, friends, success, all these things are not zero-sum games.
Right.
Do you think that men maybe struggle with this because they have that thinking from sports? Because like you're involved in major sports.
Yeah.
Or what's the right way to say it? Professional major sports.
Major professional sports, yeah.
Yeah. We can't be more specific than that.
Never.
Yeah.
I think that's a big influence. I think it has its roots in capitalism, in patriarchy, in colonialism. I mean, that's why colonialism happened, right? Is this scarcity mindset of, oh, we don't have enough resources here for us to continue to expand, so we have to go expand our empire and start collecting resources from other areas. So we start colonizing. So I think it's rooted a lot in whiteness. I think white culture seems to inherently have a more scarcity mindset, whereas a lot of other cultures seem to have a more abundant mindset. Like, oh, the earth will provide. All we have to do is live in harmony with the earth. There's enough for everybody. Of course, I will share with my neighbor and welcome them in. Why would I want to oppress anybody?
Don't be gluttonous. Don't consume more than you need.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's that idea of harmony. Harmony is inherently an abundant mindset. And to me, that's what a strong man has. A strong man has that abundance and optimism of like, there's enough for everybody here. And so just because you're getting more doesn't necessarily mean I have less. Yeah, there are certainly times when it's good to have less. Elon Musk needs to have less. Jeff Bezos needs to have less. That's fine.
Yeah.
But for the everyday person like you and me, women gaining rights, minorities gaining power and privilege, that needs to happen. It does, and it's not a threat to what we have.
Right.
So that's, to me, an abundant mindset, is you just don't feel threatened by other people.
Totally. Okay. That's awesome. Then moving to the heart, you had love and confidence. I think love is pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
And it's very essential.
I want to talk about that a little bit,
Sure.
though, because one of the things I hinted at in my statement, but there's a lot more to it, is this idea that the opposite of love is fear. So a lot of people will think, oh, the opposite of love is hate. I think that's been debunked a lot. I think a lot of people recognize that hate and love are kind of like cousins or brother and sister, that strong, passionate feeling. So the next step is kind of like, oh, the opposite of love is apathy. Like, oh, I just don't care. And I think there's a lot of truth to that. But to me, the true opposite of love is fear. And it's interesting that Eastern philosophy and Western philosophy sort of agree on that. You have like the Christian tradition, Bible quotes, there is no fear in love. Perfect love casteth out all fear. I mean, I can't remember the scriptures. It's been a minute since I cracked that. But and then Eastern philosophy, love without attachment, letting go of, the need to possess and control. That's what real love is. So Eastern and Western philosophy kind of agree that there is no fear in love. And I think that's important, because I think a strong man doesn't love with fear. I think the manosphere would say, like, no, love means like fierce loyalty. Like, oh, if my woman loves me, she'll never look at another man. And she'll love and serve me no matter how shitty I am. That's not love at all. Like, that's possession. That's control. That's not love. It's rooted in fear. It's rooted in that man's scarcity mindset.
Right. Of
like, oh, if this woman sees other options or feels like she has other options, she'll peace out. And that's why I say real love is just, you just want somebody else to be happy. And sometimes that means they're happy with somebody else romantically. They're happy being, further away from you. It happens with parents and children, right? We, as parents, I want nothing more than for my kids to be happy. Well, at some point, that's going to mean I don't get to see them every Christmas, because they're going to have other people in their lives that make them happy. And I have to be okay with that if I really love them.
Yeah.
If I love with fear, it's not really love. It's like, oh, no, you need to come be with me for Christmas. And I guilt trip them and shame them and do whatever it takes. Or a romantic partner, or even a friend. Yeah. That you use manipulation tactics to keep them close, rather than loving without that attachment of like needing them stuck to you.
Yeah. If I were to kind of draw a little bit of a parallel to something that's, I think, very relevant in the current culture, to what you're saying with love, putting love and fear on opposite sides of a spectrum. I like the quote, it's better to have loved and lost than to have never loved at all.
Yes.
Which to me kind of reads as like the strength to love, or if you let, if you indulge the fear, you'll never have the opportunity at all.
Yeah.
Which is kind of the opposite. But I feel like in the culture, it's very much like cringe culture right now for a lot of younger people. Like, cringe is what's holding people back from doing the things that they love, because they are obeying instead, like, the fear around being perceived, being judged, all those things. And so I kind of thought of that as you put that on a spectrum, because it feels like that, kind of the love of just jumping into a passionate project or something where you might look embarrassing, or maybe you suck at it initially, but you're just like hyper fixated. You're loving it. Versus a person who's just like afraid to ever express themselves lest they be judged.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I look, this is a major soapbox for me. We're going to get into this in season 2 when we talk about like relationship styles, monogamy, polyamory, all of that, because
nice plug.
Yeah. It's all rooted in that, right? How many people do you know who are in relationships, not necessarily because they're in love with somebody and connected with them, but because they're afraid to be alone?
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
Or they're afraid of not meeting these societal milestones that they've been conditioned to prioritize. Oh, that's my boyfriend. That's my girlfriend. Oh, we're engaged. Now we're married, or now we live together. Now we have kids. All these milestones that patriarchy and capitalism have programmed us to prioritize, those are fear-based. Fear of being alone, fear of not measuring up. Is it love? It can be. I'm not saying that everybody who does all those things is never in love. That's not what I'm saying at all.
Yeah.
I'm just saying if that's our priority, sometimes we can conflate milestones with love, and that's a problem.
Totally. Okay, I love that. We'll get more into that in the breakdown.
Yeah.
Confidence is an interesting one because I totally agree, but I feel like confidence of the 8 that you've listed is the most elusive. Where if a man listening to this goes, okay, yeah, maybe of these 8, I feel good about 6 of them, and here's 2 I need to work on. The confidence is a tough one to work on.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of different opinions about how to work on that. So I'm just curious, what comes to mind if somebody were to say, what is a practical way to work on that?
Okay. I think this came up a lot last episode, and is Trump a strong man, right? Because we talked a lot about Trump's confidence. Like, oh, he just says anything he wants, and he's brash.
Confidence.
Yeah, and he...
Heavy fucking quotes.
Right. But it's the same guy who then gets any minor criticism, and he's on Truth Social at 3 a.m., like, you know, or calling reporters piggies, or calling the CNN reporter, Caitlin, I can't remember her last name.
Collins.
You know, yeah, like, oh, she never smiles. She's an attractive woman, but her eyes are full of hate, you know, just like, I mean.
Or replacing Biden's presidential photo with the picture of an auto pen.
Right. Like, just petty, pathetic insecurity.
Right.
So that's why I said in my opening statement that true confidence is quiet, it's steady, it's action-oriented, it's not words. So to those men who, you know, you hear a lot of women say, oh, I'm really attracted to confidence. Well, don't get it twisted. Like, they're not saying I'm attracted to a guy who's out there like talking about how cool he is, or how much money he has, or how many places he's traveled to. What they're talking about is somebody who genuinely appears comfortable in their own skin. So I think your question is like, how do we get there? I don't think there are a lot of shortcuts to that. I think that's something that I've settled into as I've gotten older, is just, you know, building kind of a repertoire of skills, abilities, experiences, values about who I actually am, what I actually care about. And yeah, with time and with age, that just kind of settles in. And now I feel very confident just walking around on earth, that I know who I am as a human being, as a man, as a friend, as a romantic partner, as a business partner. I know how I fit in. So with me, I can't say there's any like magic formula or silver bullet. It's just been a process of time and experience. I'm actually more curious about you, because I believe that you are truly deeply confident at a much younger age than I was. So I'd be curious what's been your journey to confidence.
Well, let's get into this in the breakdown.
Oh yeah, okay, we're still in
because
the
this is a big one. But yeah, I love hearing that though, because confidence is one where I've kind of like wondered to, where I'm like, am I just lucky? And because like I've never had to do affirmations in the mirror. I've never had to do any of that. To me, I think it comes from conscience, and conscience is the track record of your values. And it's basically like a system of rules around your values. And if you are uncompromising on those, well, then you'll never have to question or be like, oh, should I do something different? You'll become the most decisive person ever if you have rock solid values.
Yeah.
And then when people do something that violates your values, it's not even a question whether or not you push back. Of course you push back. Like, to me, that's what confidence is. I'm never indecisive about like the morality of things that happen. It's like very clear if I agree with someone and trust them and I admire them, or if this is someone who I need to confront and call them out.
I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Something that came to mind as you were explaining that too is, I think like anything else, confidence is learned through repetition, you know? So, doing exactly what you just talked about, forming and deciding upon your values, kind of step one. Step two, testing those out in the real world.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. So the more I act on these values consistently, what happens to my quality of life, relationships, everything? Okay, well, it's going up. So, okay, I like these values. Or, hey, maybe this one isn't working that great, so I can kind of get rid of that one as a core value and do something else. And then I think the third step is the practice of what you just said of like standing up for what's right. Because that is hard, like you're in a situation where somebody says something that you don't agree with or does something that you don't agree with, and it's wrong. Having the courage to like step up and say something or do something, that's kind of the last step, and it's the hardest thing. But the more you practice and do that, the easier it gets. So I think repetition and practice is important.
Yeah,
too.
that's big. Yeah. Okay, so I want to move kind of quick. So your next 4, what were they again?
So we had like some of the action ones. So
those 4.
Yeah. So the arm action we had empowerment, and just that action being, or that value being, we see so many, in my opinion, weak men who want to control. Again, it's fear-based, it's scarcity mindset. It's like
competition.
Yeah, it's like it's the guy who is in a romantic relationship and he financially abuses his partner and keeps her in a position of disadvantage so that he can maintain power in the relationship. That's not empowerment. A strong man wants his partner to be independent and strong, and wants his partner to choose him because they want him and they value him, not because they don't have any other choice. So I believe a strong man is always teaching, mentoring, lifting people up, understanding what the hopes and desires of the people in their circle are, and doing everything he can to help them achieve those goals, even if that means they ultimately become independent from him and go do their own thing. That's love. That's a strong man, is somebody who empowers that instead of keeps people under his thumb.
Yeah, I really like that. Which kind of goes back to, again, what we were saying about the difference between a zero-sum game versus the tides raises all ships.
Yeah.
Because like if it's a competition, it makes sense that you'd want to put down the people around you.
Right.
But if you see it as like we're all on the same team, well, then suddenly you want everyone around you to be the best versions of themselves.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I love empowerment. I feel like we've probably hit on empowerment more than most of these traits over the season.
I agree.
Yeah.
I don't see the manosphere talking about that at all.
No.
They're talking about how to control women and assets. They're never talking about how to like make everyone around them better and stronger and happier. So to me, that's just gross and weak.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree.
So empowerment was the left arm. The right arm is effort.
Okay. That's right. Okay. So effort. Just really quick, what do you mean by that one?
Just like hard work. I think hard work is manly.
Showing up.
Yeah. Yeah. Showing up. And it's not just physical labor, it's emotional labor. How many men do you know that expect the women in their lives to do like the emotional heavy lifting for them? And look, I still do that to an extent. I have female friends who I really, really respect, and I will bounce ideas off of them because I'm just not sure if that's right. And I don't know if that's just healthy collaboration or if that's me putting emotional labor on other people. There's probably a fine line there somewhere. But yeah, just effort and equity, matching other people's effort. If you're a married couple, are you just like, oh, hey, I have a job, so I'm going to go work my 9 to 5 and like, then I'm going to peace out when I get home. Are you actually thinking about how much effort your partner is putting in? And are you even trying to match that? Or are you just like, no, I did my part. I got my paycheck. I'm good.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a holistic view of effort, physical labor, mental, emotional labor, and an awareness of equity in all relationships, friendships, romantic partnerships, business partnerships, whatever.
Yeah. Okay. I love that. Then one of the feet was safety.
Yes.
I love this one.
Being a safe space.
I really care about this one.
Me too. It's probably one of the greatest compliments I get from women is when a woman, whether it's a friend, a lover, whatever, when they feel safe to just be themselves, be vulnerable, to say like, oh, I don't really want to go there for dinner, or I don't really want to be doing this activity right now. Like that to me is the biggest compliment somebody can give me, because they feel safe to be authentic and vulnerable with me. So being a safe space, and that comes first and foremost with like the very low bar of like consent, like making sure you're acting with integrity and not being a creep and not coercing people into things like that. Like, I know that sounds like a low bar, but there's a lot of men that don't meet that bar.
Apparently a high bar for a lot of men.
Apparently, yeah. So that's like step one, and then I think from there it goes up to all different types of safety, and maybe the highest level of safety that a man can achieve is somebody who leads with their own vulnerability. They are unafraid to act authentically. They aren't somebody who's like doing this performative version of masculinity. They're just being very real, very raw, very authentic. And that to me is strength, because that says to everybody else like, oh, this person is safe. He is safe for me to act that same way around.
Totally.
Yeah.
Okay. So your last foot, accountability.
Yes.
Which is definitely the one we've talked probably the most about this season.
Yeah.
But why'd you put that as one of the action items?
Because to me, that's something we always have to be moving towards. It is an action. It is a practice. It's learning how to be self-aware, know when you screwed up, listen to other people, and just be able to say, hey, I screwed that one up. I was wrong. It's a form of confidence. Confidence is sort of like the philosophical version of accountability in some ways. By taking accountability, you are showing other people that you are strong. I think people get this one so twisted. They're like, oh no, a strong man that never admits he's wrong. That's Trump, right? Never admit that you're wrong. That's strength. No. That is absolute weakness.
Yeah.
Strength is being able to go, yeah, I screwed that up, but I'm not going to do it again. I'm going to learn from this. I'm going to get better. Yeah. So that's why I think accountability is so important.
Yeah. And as far as people getting it twisted, something that drives me crazy online that I do see when it comes to accountability, you said in your opening statement, accountability is awareness and action, which I really like, because I think a lot of people confuse accountability as just some surface level awareness. Yeah. That it's like, oh, as long as I just like vaguely acknowledge my weaknesses, that's me taking accountability. Okay, yeah, I messed up. I took accountability. Accountability is not just acknowledging the weakness or acknowledging the thing you did wrong. Accountability is taking action beyond that to make it right.
Yeah.
And that's making the people who you affected feel better, regardless of whether you agree or not, and whether or not your intentions were good. Accountability is making things right, even if it wasn't your intention to screw them up. Yeah. And then it's pledging and committing to like do better in the future. Totally. It's not just going like, yeah, I admitted it. So what? Okay. Yeah. I took accountability. Like, right. Come on. That's like a 7-year-old's version of accountability.
Yeah. Oh, that's the very, very surface level of it. Yeah. The accountability is a hard one too, because I think there's a lot of gray area there, because sometimes people just have different versions of events. Sometimes you agree to disagree. I'm involved in a situation like that right now, where it's like I'm on one side of an issue, somebody else has a very different perspective, and we're doing our best to like, hey, here's my perspective. Okay, I'm trying to understand yours. I disagree. Where do you find that fine line of accountability, of saying like, okay, well that's your version, I have mine. I don't know. I think that's a different thing. I think accountability is just having the awareness to be like, I was wrong, or I might be wrong. Let's be curious about it. Yeah. Back to curiosity.
Yes. Okay. So that I wanted to leave curiosity for last, because I think a lot of this might feel like drinking from the fire hose for a man who's like wanting to better himself, for any person who's wanting to better themselves, to look at all of these. It could be tough to know where to start. Yeah. Curiosity is where to freaking start.
I love that you said that.
Yeah.
Yes.
I love that you put that first, because I see that as like the most important one, especially for young people. Especially when you're young. Like you just like have this self-awareness to realize that like there's a decent amount of experience you need to accrue before you can be something big, before you can claim something big, before you can all sorts of these things. And just be okay with being in a learning phase.
Yeah.
And that doesn't need to be some overly humble, submissive thing. Like, it's awesome to be curious.
It has become the number one quality I look for in another person.
Oh, it's great.
Yeah.
And if we're going to talk about dating, like if you could bring, I mean, you should bring all of these to dating. But curiosity is such a huge one, especially on like a first date.
Yeah.
That's going to be one that I would acknowledge first of these traits.
Yeah.
To see, like, is this person even, like, are they excited about life? You know, like, are they going to listen to my story and it's not going to register as a threat to them? It's going to register as like, whoa, tell me more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People have said that curiosity is one of the greatest signs of intelligence. And I agree with that. But I also think curiosity is the best path to intelligence.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, we're born curious as human beings, as kids. At some point, like, the world sort of like beats that out of us, I guess. Like, oh, stop asking questions. You're being annoying. Or like we get embarrassed or something. Why do we do that?
Yeah.
The more questions you ask, the more you learn. And I did put this as like something that resides in the head, like as a more of a philosophical thing, but it's also the most actionable probably of these traits.
Totally.
It is so easy to learn to just ask people questions.
Yep.
To your point about dating, if you're ever on a date and you can't think of something to talk about, just start asking some questions.
Yeah.
You know? And if you're worried that you're going to get tongue-tied because she's too hot or something, write down 20 questions before you go on that date. You know? It's not that hard. Where it particularly gets useful, I think, is in a conflict. You know, somebody's in a bad mood, somebody offends you, you're in conflict. Your reaction is to defend, maybe to attack. If you can shift that into a mode of curiosity, that will lower their defenses and it will help you learn and gain empathy.
Yeah.
You know, hey, why are you feeling this way? Oh, well, you did this and this and this.
Yep.
Okay, why is that hurtful to you? Well, because this and this and this. Just keep asking those why questions, and it will take the whole tone of a situation down into a collaborative thing versus a combative thing.
Yeah.
So curiosity is such a fucking useful
Totally.
trait.
Curiosity is what you should take into learning a new topic, into mastering a skill, into confrontation.
Yes.
Like, there's an interesting conversation that could be had right now about deprogramming. Culture, or like just culturally right now with politics, with religion, there's a lot of questions about like, does this certain family member of mine have any hope?
Yeah.
You know, and we talk about getting people out of cults and deprogramming. And curiosity is something that I've heard from all cult experts where they're like, I know how much you hate them. I know how much, like how ridiculous their beliefs might be, but you will not get through to them unless you approach them with some level of curiosity.
That's a great point.
So like, it is just such a wonderful thing to bring to anything that you do.
Yeah.
So that's a great one.
And I don't know why, but it seems like, if you'll allow me to generalize, it seems like women are naturally more curious. You know, I don't know if it's what the patriarchy tells men, is that like, it's kind of like why men don't want to ask for directions, right? Like asking questions is a sign of weakness or something. I don't know. Somewhere we've given women permission to ask questions and we've told men they can't.
Yeah.
And I don't know. That's a problem to me.
Yeah. I also think that curiosity is a big part of empathy as well. Because the classic thing between men and women, when it's like, do you want me to hold space for you, or do you want me to be solutions oriented? Like that whole thing. And men tend to be solutions oriented.
It's the default, yeah.
But like if you're curious about what they're feeling, rather than just getting right to the action and fixing things, like be curious about why maybe they're feeling hurt or why they're feeling like, it's just such a great gateway into empathy.
Yeah.
Which really will solve so many problems before you actually get into the problem solving. It's like one of the biggest signs of immaturity that I notice in people is like when they don't ask questions and they go right to giving opinions.
Yeah.
Or it's like, I didn't even like properly brief you on what we're talking about. And you're giving me some, I know for a fact that you know nothing about the subject, and here you are giving like a staunch opinion.
Yeah.
And it's like, do you not know how to like end a sentence with a question mark? You only know how to make declarative statements.
Right.
Do you know what I'm talking about? Like
those
people are exhausting to be around.
Oh,
where it's like, Okay, cool. I know you just pulled that out of your ass. So how about we maybe ask questions for a second
Yeah.
before we come up with an opinion?
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love what you said about empathy, because true empathy is actually pretty difficult. It's difficult to really feel what somebody else is feeling unless you've like been in that exact situation. But I feel like curiosity is sort of like a healthy substitute for empathy. Like when we're not able to get on that level of feeling what somebody else is feeling, at least we can like kind of understand where they're coming from. Feelings can just be a little more amorphous, I guess, kind of difficult to navigate. Maybe thoughts are a little easier for some people. And so I feel like curiosity is the way to get us there.
Yeah.
Of just understanding. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome.
All right.
I really like that. Those 8. That's a really great standard for a man, for a woman, for anybody, as you said, to follow.
Thank you. Yeah, I kind of, for me, it just makes a lot of sense to picture this.
I love the Vitruvian man.
You know, and like putting these traits or these attributes in the head, the heart, the arms, and the legs, and having this idea of like, oh, that's a complete person. That's what I aspire to be.
Yeah.
And like all of these things, I feel like I have to some extent, and I feel like I'm really struggling to work on to some extent too. And I think that's just a lifelong struggle.
Totally. It's a pursuit that does not end.
Yeah.
Which is like good to remind yourself of, no matter what stage of life you're in. It's like you always need to make the choice
For sure.
and strive for these things
Yes.
because they will go away. A person who may have been great 10 years ago still has the absolute potential to become a dog shit human.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I've seen it.
Yeah.
Probably done it to some extent.
Right.
I'm still trying to figure out which attribute is the butthole of the Vitruvian man. But that's maybe season 2. We'll talk about that.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's talk about that later because I immediately have a theory.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so we'll talk about it later.
All right.
But nice. I really like that.
Okay. Ding, ding.
Ding, ding. Bing, bing. I also really like this because, so we did not work on these separately. Or sorry, we did work on these separately. And I took a very different approach with this.
Yeah.
So this is going to be a nice contrast to what I bring for mine. So
Great.
Nice work.
Let's hear it. Switch seats.
Okay, let's do it. All right. My name is Dash, and I have a few thoughts about my standard for strength. If we were to put a truly strong woman and a truly strong man into a room and come up with a list of qualities about why we think they're strong, it could be honesty, accountability, self-awareness, discipline, whatever. And then we were to compare the lists between the two, they would be identical every single time because strength is human before it is gendered. And I think most of us already know that, even if we resist saying it out loud. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about the universal traits of strength. What I want to talk about instead is the part that is genuinely unique to the experience of being a man. Being a man, a cisgender man in this world, comes with immense privilege. And I mean that in the same way I mean it when I talk about being white in America. Not that your life has been easy, and it's not that you haven't endured suffering, but it's that there are certain specific burdens that were never placed on you simply because of what you are. You have moved through the world without a category of fear that others carry every single day. That is privilege. And like whiteness in America, it comes with a responsibility to acknowledge it honestly, to understand what it cost other people, and to let that understanding change how you move through the world. Men have held structural power for most of recorded history, and that power has been constantly used and systematically to devalue women, oppress them, own them, silence them, and pit them against each other. That's not a political opinion. That's just history. And any man who engages honestly with the world that he actually lives in has to reckon with these hard truths. And that reckoning is a big part of what I feel makes a man strong. But here's where it gets practical, because this isn't really about history. It's about Tuesday afternoon, that time last week, or maybe tomorrow morning. It's your friend at the bar who says something disgusting about a woman who turned him down, and everyone laughs, and you feel this temptation to just nod along. It's the moment that a girl doesn't text you back, and something dark flickers in you. Not hurt, just ego, and it wants to say something cruel just to feel like it got the last word in. It's the employee you could humiliate in front of a room of people, and they couldn't do anything about it. It's the date who's uncomfortable and you could push things anyway. It's that flash of wanting to make something of a small slight from someone who couldn't stop you. Not because you're angry, not because it matters, but just for that 3-second drug of feeling bigger by making somebody else smaller. Every man knows these moments I'm talking about. They come for all of us. The question is, what do you do when they happen? A strong man doesn't pretend those impulses don't exist. He knows them by name. He's done enough inner work to catch them before they become actions, catch them before they become words, before he becomes the kind of person he never meant to be. He doesn't laugh at the bar. He doesn't send that text, not because someone is watching, not because he fears the consequences, but because he knows exactly who he is, and that person doesn't need to diminish anyone else for him to feel powerful. That's the standard. It's not complicated. It's a little bit hard in practice, but it's definitely worth spending a life trying to meet.
All right.
Okay.
That was really good.
Yeah.
Okay, I like that a lot.
You see how we were a nice contrast?
I love that. Yeah, I love how I kind of focused more on the traits and you focused more on what's unique about them for men and women.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess my first question is just say more about that. Like, because I feel like even from episode 1, where you are on the progressive side of should we define a man and a woman? This has always been sort of a passion of yours, is that gender is a construct.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess, is that kind of the root of this, or say more? Say more about that.
It's a tough combo. So what we're trying to do, the thing we quote every episode, to gain knowledge of a concept in its pure form by stripping off the irrelevant accretions. Mm-hmm. So basically it's like peeling back the layers of these things that don't matter so that we can get to like the basic principles of the thing. And what's tough about these conversations about like, what is it to be a man, or like, what is strength, is that there are a lot of different interpretations. Yeah. So a lot of these are very loaded terms that a lot of people have attributed value to. And so in talking about like what makes a strong man, immediately I'm like, okay, well, we can list a lot of really good traits, but none of these are unique to being a man. Right. We kind of got into this in the provider and protector episode. It's like women are also providers and protectors. Yeah. Like for every single dad that's a great dad, there's also a single mom who's a great mom, because they both exude the exact same things. Then it's like, okay, well, then what are the parts that are unique to being a man? And then it's like, okay, well, they're really, like, there are biologically, but is that your view of a man? Are we talking about cisgender men? But that is a big part. That's huge. As far as like cisgender man, there is a part of their experience that is unique. Yeah. And I want to talk about that because I love your 8 traits, and those are amazing, but those also a wonderful, strong woman make.
Absolutely.
You know?
Yeah.
And so I want to make sure that we do address the very little that is unique to men. Yeah. Because men do bear a responsibility that is unique to them. And it's the usual responsibility that comes with any kind of privilege, which is a responsibility to exercise awareness about your privilege. Yeah. And then to do right by those who do not have the privilege.
So I have a lot of questions about that particularly that we'll get into. But before we do that, I want to ask you another question kind of still on this topic. You brought up the providers and protectors episode. I'm glad you did, because in that episode, you were on the conservative side. Mm-hmm. So you were making the argument that like these male identity markers as a provider and a protector are very important for men. It's a good thing to kind of keep men on a positive path. And while I know that was a conservative steel man, I do think you have some personal belief about that. So talk about that and how you reconcile the value of identity markers in that context versus here where you're like, no, it's not about the identity markers necessarily. It's more about acknowledging privilege.
Yeah, I mean, that's tough because like I strongly feel both. Where any a standard of strength like this that we give, it applies to both men and women. Right. But then it's also like, okay, if I value the identity markers, then we have to come up with something that is unique to men. Yeah. Because you can't really like take on that particular element of identity if it's just a universal thing.
Right.
Like if we're all the exact same and there is nothing distinguished between us, then there is no identity other than like a collective identity.
Yeah.
And there's something to be said about that. But as far as like individual identity, which we all want, it feels good. Like we talked about in the last episode, like ego loves to feel the unique shape of what we are.
Yeah.
And that's identity. And a big part of it is identity. And so it's kind of just like glib to ignore that as an aspect of being a person. Like we love that. We love being part of groups and communities and having things that are unique about us and trying to think outside the box or pursuing things that we don't know anyone else who's done this thing. And it's fun to be a trailblazer. Like all of these things are kind of what I'm talking about. And men, we know, love to be men.
Yeah.
Right? Like we talk about the manosphere jerking off to warrior myths. You and I feel that same temptation. Like it is a guilty pleasure that all men have. That it just like it feels good to pretend like we're warriors and to have a code, like the warrior's code. Like it feels fucking awesome.
Yeah, it's identity, it's community in a way. All of those things feel good. We're wired to desire those things.
Right.
Yeah.
And so there's like almost a part of me where it's like I want to take, let's say we have our 8 traits right here that could apply to both women and men.
Yeah.
But for the men, it's like I want to like put on an edit of like a montage of like samurai and knights as we list out the exact same 8 traits that also apply to everyone. Like
totally.
Here's your version. Here's the man edit. Even though the other edit would be the exact same words, but we're just adding some like aesthetic that helps men feel like it's unique to them.
Oh, yeah.
And helps them feel like, oh yeah, oh fuck yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know. Identity is a tough conversation. I think privilege is just a really big part that is unique to being a man.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to make sure to address that.
Yeah.
Because that is one of the few places where you truly can differentiate yourself as a man, where I don't think a woman does not have the onus on them to take responsibility for their privilege the way that men do, at least in this regard.
Right.
And so if I were to try and categorize what makes a strong man, I want to list the things that are unique to a man.
To a man.
Yeah.
What would you say to the inevitable manosphere comment of like, oh, here we go again, the libtards, everybody's the same, there's no gender, there's no men, there's no women, it's just, here's a list of traits, you should be like that. I mean, how do you respond to that?
A simple mind wants to put everybody in boxes.
Right.
Like the you and I have talked about this. Like we think like kind of one of the key metrics of intelligence is the ability to engage with nuance.
Yes.
Which means that on the low intelligence side of that spectrum is a black and white thinker.
Yeah.
And somewhere on that spectrum is like you have to categorize things. That's a form of black and white thinking, putting everybody into boxes. And then further you go, oh, maybe we don't need boxes because it clearly doesn't apply all the time. And so like these generalizations are nice, sure. A conversation where we are generalizing is far more approachable. It's easier for a lesser mind. Like generalizations are great for kids who are trying to learn about the world. Yeah. Give them a few just basic categories so they get like a loose understanding of how things work. But then once the rubber like hits the road and you're an adult, you quickly realize like, oh, I'm an individual and myself as well as literally everyone else don't fit into these boxes. Like each of us individually can point to exceptions where if we were to religiously follow these very like simplified versions of what it means to be a person, where these people are suddenly now marginalized.
Yeah.
And like, okay, your system doesn't apply to me. So now what am I? A not person, a fake person? Like what? So yeah, the generalized shit's great for very simple minds. Cool. But like the more intelligent you are, the deeper you get into life, the more involved you are with communities and people who are not like you and people who don't believe the same things you do, you quickly realize that, okay, the boxes are not helpful beyond being training wheels.
So if I'm understanding you correctly, the manosphere are idiots.
Well, I don't know. Like,
That's, I agree.
I mean, yeah, in the way that they approach a lot of
Simple
these
minds.
things.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, why? Why, as an adult, why do you feel a need to engage in generalities? Like the way they attack trans people is like, I get that you don't understand them,
Yeah.
sure. But like trans people clearly don't fit into your like very reductive rubric of what humans should be. So now what?
Yeah. I think it all goes back to the same pathology here. I think it comes from religion and scarcity mindset again, fear. There's a right and there's a wrong, and that's all we can understand. We can't have two things both be right or two things be wrong. It's binary.
Mhm.
It's a one and a zero. That's it. You know, there's no room for nuance. I think it's twofold. I think it's the simple minds who just can't grasp nuance, and then I think it's the fraudsters who are trying to control and manipulate those simple minds.
Yeah.
Who stoke that.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Mm.
that fear-based thinking of like, oh, right and
Yeah.
wrong, black and white. There's no nuance.
Right. And I think, oh man, this is a whole ass conversation.
Yeah.
But watch me open just the biggest can of worms ever here.
Mm-hmm.
There's a huge parallel between what we're talking about and the fear of not knowing what happens when we die.
Oh, okay. Oh shit.
Where like there is something just inherently uncomfortable on a psychological level with not knowing something.
Yeah.
Like we don't feel safe when we don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why people flock towards religion
Yeah.
and towards the hucksters and the snake oil salesmen because they're giving them answers.
Yeah.
And it doesn't feel good to not have the answers. It takes like a mature person to be able to sit with the discomfort of not knowing.
Yeah.
That's why the dumbest people you know are the most opinionated. And the smartest people you know are the ones who are actually super curious,
Right.
even when they actually know a lot.
Yeah.
Because they don't feel a need to fill the gap of knowledge with dumb fucking opinions.
Yeah.
Right? Like they're okay having that void of knowledge and then asking questions so that they can begin to fill it. And so when it comes to the God thing or what happens after we die, I think a lot of people are uncomfortable not knowing, so they flock to whoever's going to give them simple answers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think you're absolutely right.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I got a few more questions
Okay.
here. You talk about recognizing privilege, how that's something inherently for men to recognize that form of privilege. And then you talk about a reckoning. Say more about that. I mean, what's the practical application of that? Because you gave some great examples of like texting the girl who doesn't text you back, or how you treat the worker at the restaurant, or your friend at the bar who says something inappropriate. Do you respond or do you not? Are those parts of that reckoning, or what do you mean by that reckoning and the act of recognizing privilege?
I think the reckoning is more about learning the history
Okay.
of why you're privileged and trying to understand those who don't share that privilege. So let's just say men and women. It's approaching the historical reality that women have faced, curiously, not defensively,
Yeah.
not with a bias where you're just going to cherry pick a couple things, but to just look at it openly and even to be curious with the women in your life. And because like even in 2026, like women are still experiencing what we're talking about. This isn't like before women's suffrage.
Right.
You know, it's like this is very omnipresent still to this day. So the reckoning is like when you're privileged in what you are, when you're just born into it in your skin, it's hard to, like, you feel normal. You feel like you are just the baseline. And so then when you're told that you're privileged, suddenly you're like, wait, no, I've been hurt. No, I've suffered. You're not acknowledging my existence by telling me that I am somehow above. And so that's the thing that is difficult to reckon with.
Yeah.
Is to feel like you bear some responsibility just by default.
Yeah.
But you do, because there are experiences that you just aren't aware of yet. Like as a white person in America, like that one's like a little bit easier to engage with, I think, because we have such a giant horrible chapter in this country. I mean, the chapters continue, but the chapters were particularly dark for a couple hundred years during, let's say, slavery.
Yeah.
And so as soon as you read about that, you're like, wow, I feel very lucky that I wasn't born in that time period, and that I was, and I'm glad I was not subjected to that the way that these people were.
Yeah.
And so it's good to like educate yourself about that.
Yeah.
But then it is still difficult to reckon with this idea that like you bear a responsibility to humble yourselves to that. I don't know the right way to say it.
Yeah.
But I think that's the reckoning, because it's not easy.
Yeah, I agree. And we talked about this a lot in Check Your Privilege, which is episode 3, something like that, 3 or 4.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess I revisit a question that I think we discussed, which is like, what do you tell the white guy born into poverty who was like, grew up dirt poor, had nothing, suffered, maybe was abused, neglected, taken advantage of in some way? He never owned a slave. None of his relatives ever did. So he's sitting here going like, hey, my life's just as hard as any black guy. Why do I have to check my privilege? Or what are you talking about? Mm-hmm. Like, what message do you give that guy about that reckoning?
Well, yeah, like I said, to acknowledge privilege.
Mm-hmm.
Privilege, there's so many different aspects of privilege.
Yeah.
It's not just skin color and sex. It's like socioeconomic status. It's health. It's social resources. It's family resources. It's your country. There's so many different aspects of privilege, and to acknowledge privilege is not to say that you haven't suffered. It's not to say that your life was easy, but it's just saying that your life wasn't hard in a couple specific ways. In ways that you don't initially understand.
Yeah.
And you won't understand unless you're willing to be curious and look at the history of it.
Yeah.
That's the thing, is like a privileged person is never born with those answers. Mm-hmm. You have to be willing to look at people who are different than you, or else you will always go on thinking that you are the same. But like I think for those people, an easier way to look at it is like, let's just look at socioeconomic status.
Right.
I think everybody can understand that like a kid who was born to the child of a billionaire, it's so obvious that they are completely unaware of a plethora of experiences and stresses and existential woes that come with not having money.
Yeah.
And so it's obvious. And so it's like, if you're born to a billionaire and you will never have to worry about having enough money, you have a responsibility to understand how all of the other humans around you are dealing with these issues, this adversity that you will never have. That's it. That one's easier to understand, right? Because none of us, like very few of us, were born into that kind of wealth.
Right.
But it's the exact same between whiteness and blackness. It's the same between men and women. There is just a plethora of existential woes in both of those categories that you do not understand being in the more privileged of those classes. And that when you see someone born into, you're like, God, I wish you understood how easy you have it.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying you don't suffer, and I'm not saying your whole life is easy, but I'm just saying you don't understand in these few ways what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I like that. A lot of what you were saying felt to me sort of like a callback to the last episode, where we were talking about Trump being a strong man or not. And your position was strength is not having power, it's what you do with it.
Yeah.
This seems very connected to what you're talking about here as a unique experience as a man, is you have this power, this privilege. So what makes a strong man uniquely manly is what he does with that power. Can you maybe talk more about that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess going off of what we were just talking about, it's almost like privilege, or acknowledging privilege, is kind of like acknowledging some aspect of power that you have, that you don't have an uphill battle to climb in some respect. And then once you acknowledge that and you realize that you do have power in some way, you do have advantage that other people don't have, what are you going to do with that now?
Right.
Are you going to deny it, which a lot of people do, especially in the manosphere? They just outrightly deny that men and women have different experiences, and they think that women have it easier than men do.
Yeah, I was just going to say that.
Which is so asinine. And so there's that like denial. But let's just say, even if they were to acknowledge it, there are some people who then exploit that power. And this happens all the time. I mean, obviously, we can look at sexual assault statistics and we can look at everything. Like men are constantly exploiting the power that they have over women.
Right.
Because they can. And because there's nobody who's calling them out. There's nobody holding them accountable, which is really frustrating because like a lot of the stuff that you and I talk about on this podcast, women have been screaming from the top of their lungs for hundreds of years.
Yeah.
And we have recognized that. And part of what we want to do is to just kind of give them a voice by finally being at least 2 more men who are willing to be like, yeah, and then call out other men. Because that's a big part of it too, is like men are who are best to hold other men accountable.
Yeah.
Men listen to men first.
Unfortunately.
We've talked about the hierarchy thing and who you listen to, who you don't listen to.
Right.
I've seen a lot of men in my life who just don't listen to women. And it's like shocking. Even like men who you wouldn't guess, who don't seem like they're like chauvinists or might not even be Republican or whatever, who just don't listen to women.
So
and I can tell that is like, as soon as a man comes in to validate what the woman's saying, they're like, oh, really? Like, and so if that's the case, if men tend to, you know, whether it's like childish or not, like men tend to default to listen to other men first. And so if that's the case, like men are never going to grow unless they call each other out.
Yeah.
And so like, that's a big part of it too.
I love that because I think just as human beings, if you've been in a workplace, if you've been even like at school in a creative situation, maybe even in a friend group, we've all been in that situation where like we sort of like timidly say something, have an idea, have a thought, and it just gets ignored. And then 5 minutes later, somebody who maybe heard us say it says the same thing louder and better. And then everyone in the group's like, that's a great idea.
Nice.
And we're sitting there going, fuck you. Is that just what it's like to be a woman all the time? You know, where it's like the men are like, hey, we should do this. And all the other men are like, great idea. And the women are like, we've been fucking saying that for 300 years.
Right. I know. That's something with this podcast too, is like, I'm never going to let it get to my head because we are not saying anything unique.
No, we're not.
like this is, I feel like it's more common than common sense. Like most of what we're talking about.
Yeah.
It's stuff that, women just intrinsically have figured out from young ages decades ago.
Yeah.
And so I really don't want to be celebrated. It's like, no, we are just echoing and we're doing it because we know men might listen to us more than they would be willing to listen to women.
I think this is a very good kind of ending to the ring because that's a great segue into who's listening, what comments they're making, sort of the next segment. So if you're okay with that, should we?
Ding, ding.
Ding, ding. Nice job.
Cool.
All right. All right. Excellent job in the ring. And now a word from our sponsor.
A word from our sponsors. Now, this might feel like the part in podcasts where they do a sponsor break because the tone of the entire episode changes and like their hair is different and it's obvious the guest is not in the studio anymore. But we don't have a sponsor, contrary to that. But we're going to plug Catharsis method for a second. This is, think emotional intelligence solitaire, in that it's a card-based exercise for one person or two people to process their emotions in a healthy way. You lay out a bunch of cards, and it helps you think through, become more acquainted with your emotions, and improve like your self-awareness around the things in your life that you might have a lot of feelings toward. So that's what this is. It's a two decks of cards, these beautiful hexagon cards, and it is for sale on Amazon for, I think, $29 right now. So that is what we're plugging.
That's a steal. I love this product. I travel a lot for work, sometimes in pretty high stress situations. Sometimes the job itself is creating the stress. Sometimes stress from home or whatever is potentially interfering with the job. And I often need an outlet to process those emotions because I can't afford distractions during some of the events I'm traveling to.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a great method that I have used. I've done it with you, which is amazing, and on my own.
Mm-hmm.
And it's awesome. So
Cool.
I highly recommend.
Thanks.
Buy it on Amazon, $29.99.
Catharsis method today.
Yes.
And for context, I made this. In case you're wondering, like, why are you plugging some random thing? I designed this, took about 3 years, designed it with therapists. The main reason I started it was I had a few friends in my life who were the ones who needed therapy more than anything, and they were the last people who were ever going to get therapy. So I wanted to create a more accessible version of therapy, just the basics.
Wait, are you talking about me?
Yeah, totally. Where even somebody could learn just some of the basics of cognitive behavioral therapy, learn about emotions, XYZ. Anyway, so that's where this came from.
Very cool.
Yes.
Thank you, sponsor, for the
Thank you,
$0
sponsor.
that you have invested in this podcast.
Yes.
Actually, you've invested
for
a lot of
pouring
dollars
us these
in this
drinks.
podcast. Very cool.
Cool.
All right. Well, moving on. What do you want to do next? We wanted to. We're kind of just talking about the people who've been listening to the podcast this year. You know, I think when we started out, we both agreed that this was really just for fun. It's just for us. We're going to bounce ideas off each other. We have a lot of these types of conversations anyway, so we thought, hey, why not record it? Maybe somebody out there could benefit from it. And I think from that point of really expecting little to no engagement, we've been surprised, I would say. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, very surprised.
Yeah.
I think just as a way of managing expectations, I kind of went into it just saying, like, I don't care if nobody watches it. It'll just be a good experiment for us to figure some things out. But then it really was amazing how big the response was we started getting as soon as we started putting out clips around the third episode. And immediately I had a bunch of clips blowing up. Meaning like getting 10,000 views, or 20,000 or 50,000 views, and now at this point, here we are in episode 10. We're filming episode 10, which means it's not out currently.
Right.
And at this point, we've gotten around 10 million views amongst all the clips, episodes, things, and an insane amount of engagement.
Yeah.
And that has been amazing. And it's really changed our view on how to approach things.
Yeah, the comments have been super fun for me. Going on TikTok, going on Instagram, engaging with the comments. There's some really funny stuff. There's some super critical stuff. There's some really like heartwarming, awesome stuff. So, I think we're going to take a second to look at some of the funny stuff, but do you want to talk about some of the DMs and other stuff that we've gotten that kind of felt good?
Yeah.
Felt fulfilling?
Yeah, we've gotten a lot. And so I think first we can just kind of acknowledge that, like, if you've spent time in comment sections, you've kind of realized that there's a lot of repetition, that when you see one comment, you'll see 100 comments kind of like that.
Yeah.
And it's been really interesting seeing a lot of different comments that are both hopeful but also that are nice, that are, they're very nice. But then there are a lot of comments that are also where I can tell people are getting some pent up anger out. Like we're helping them achieve some amount of catharsis by saying things that they've been wanting to hear men say for a long time, for women in particular. And that's been something that I wasn't expecting and that I feel very lucky to facilitate. Yeah.
When we looked at the stats, I want to say the listening audience was skewed a little more female, but not a crazy amount. It was fairly close to 50-50. But the comments are way more skewed towards women.
Yeah.
And I saw a lot of comments that warmed my heart a little bit, because my biggest hang up and insecurity about doing this that we've talked about a million times is like, dude, two like cis white men, we don't need two more people like that with a podcast. And I'm still self-conscious about it, I'll be honest. But there were a lot of comments from women who were like, hey,
they can keep the microphones.
They can, like, let these guys talk a little bit. It's okay. Like, or I'm going to send this to my son or to my husband or whatever. And that felt good. And, you know, there's still a few people who are like, oh, really? Two more guys with a podcast? Fuck off. And I'm like, yeah, same. But there was a lot of that, and that felt good.
Yeah, definitely. I think part of the struggle as it comes to comments are 95% of the people commenting don't know the dynamic of the show.
Right.
And so they're commenting thinking that you or I hold the actual opinions that we're saying.
Right.
Part of that is because, like, to our credit, I think we're pretty good at steel manning.
Yeah, I think so.
And getting caught up in the heat of it, which makes it seem authentic.
Yeah, we're trying to win.
Right.
Yeah.
And so a lot of the comments are people being very angry at one of us.
Yeah.
And judging by what we're currently wearing, we already know what the comment sections will be saying, right?
Red shirt guy, rainbow shirt
guy.
Yeah.
Wow, rainbow shirt guy's a tool.
Yeah.
Or wow,
red shirt
guy's teeth are giant, or whatever it is.
Oh my God.
By the way, my name is Dash. This is Charlie. If you would like to refer to us by our names in the comments, that would be really cool.
Yeah. I'm okay with rainbow shirt guy.
I know, it is kind of funny.
You've been backward hat guy, Mets jersey guy.
Yep. Gross guy.
Yeah. I've been red shirt guy. I've been
conservative guy.
Yeah. Douchebag. Yeah.
So one of the things I do want to call out that like meant a lot to us. So I think it was around episode 5.
Yeah.
Towards the end of the episode, you know, when our energy is like kind of waning and we've just been talking and we're getting tired. And you and I said, our goal is like, I want to just change one young man's mind.
Yeah.
And like that is the goal more than anything, is we want to provide an alternative to the red pill space.
Yeah.
Somebody who might be starting to get programmed in that direction. We want to be like, hey, here
Pull
is
them back.
An alternative view of what it means to be a man. And like from our lives, we want to show you that like two successful guys who poll can have totally different opinions than those, you know, the hucksters on the right. So anyway, we talked about that, I think, on episode 5. And then it was in between releasing episode 5 and 6 that one of our followers, Levi, we're calling you out again.
Hey, Levi.
Hi. Left a comment on the Spotify episode just saying, hey, I really appreciate this a lot. You've changed my mind on some things. As somebody who's being pulled towards the red pill space, this was like a really lucky thing for me to find, which that already was mind-blowing. And I responded to his comment and just said, thank you so much. That means a lot. We would love to hear more about your experience if you're willing to talk about it.
Yeah. This
man sent us a 2-page document, a Google Doc, incredibly well written.
Yeah.
Like this is a very thoughtful, smart, like articulate person who writes this response talking about his experience just kind of in the culture war of things and where he was feeling being pulled in certain directions by things, feeling like certain sides were acknowledging the right things or missing the wrong things. And
he was starting to get red pilled.
Yes.
Right? Like he went down that path.
Yeah. Starting to get red pilled and made a point, which good for him being diligent. He made a point to try and find more feminist content. And he found our podcast and he liked what we were doing because we were trying to represent both sides rather than kind of just going into the
piling on
the bubble
type
thing where we just in an echo chamber. And he appreciated that. But anyway, Levi, your letter really meant a lot to us. And we read it together with a friend of ours who we'll talk about later. It's somebody who you might be seeing in season 2. And the 3 of us read that letter, and it like really was impactft. So that's one of my very favorite things that's come of any creative project I've done.
That was very inspiring, very uplifting for me. So thank you, Levi. Another thing that's been pretty inspiring to me is to read all the mean comments that come through. So are you okay if we take a minute and do a little bit of that? Do you remember back in the day? I can't remember if it was like Conan or one of the late night hosts would do this celebrities read mean tweets bit.
Oh, of course.
And I just always thought
It
that
wasn't Conan. I think that was Kimmel.
Was it Jimmy Kimmel?
I think so.
Yeah, I could see that. Okay.
It was on the homophobia episode. There are so many people who accused you of being gay.
I got destroyed on that episode.
I'm trying to find one of somebody calling you gay.
All right, well, let me set up this first one.
Okay.
This is from the body count episode where you had to steel man the conservative side on body count. So I appreciate the work you put in on this one.
There were some bad ones.
Yeah. This particular clip was called Bogus Study, where we were talking about the Wheatley study conducted at BYU, and you kind of cited it loosely but didn't know anything about it. And so this was a comment that somebody wrote for you.
Okay. Guy in the red shirt. Thank you for so easily making sure that I never follow you or watch another one of your videos. Fucking 50 IQ joke. Nice. I like that. Thank you, Gabriel J.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
Floating somewhere around 50. That's okay.
I thought you were in the 60s, to be fair. But
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. We're going to go back and forth. This one, it's both to you and I. This is on our first episode. The YouTube comments are always the meanest.
Brutal.
But this one's mean to both of us.
Okay. Yeah. Guy on the left looks like a Walking Dead extra. Guy on the right looks like melted ice cream. That's awesome.
Yep.
I don't think I ever read that one, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how.
There's some mean ones on YouTube.
Yeah.
I love them.
All right. This is from the same episode, the body count one. It's where you gave the analogy of why we wouldn't want to buy used underwear.
Oh, yeah.
And you specifically said, because think of all the dicks that have been in that underwear. And somebody wrote this comment.
Okay. Sounds like you're thinking a lot about all those other dicks. That's right.
Yeah. Zach, thanks for that comment. Zach.
Thanks, Zach.
Yeah.
Okay, I like this one too from Captain Righteous. This was on the homophobia episode.
Nice.
Which is probably where you got raked through the coals the most.
On this.
Where just a million people were calling you gay, a closeted gay guy for having those opinions. Yeah, I'll just let you read that.
All right. Because dude's gay as fuck and using terms like nuclear family and had to pretend to be straight.
Yeah. That's good.
Fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like it. There were so many comments like that though. Like I remember on body count, I saw a lot of comments like, as if this guy's body count is 0.
Yeah, exactly. Nobody's fucking this guy.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I got called gay about 1,000 times, which I'm like, I take that as a compliment.
Yeah.
I
mean, look at your shirt.
Right? Snazzy.
Confusing ally or gay guy? Win-win.
Wouldn't you like to know?
Yeah. I do know, unfortunately.
Yeah, you
He's
do.
straight.
All right. Well, what about some of our favorite clips from the episode or from the season?
Yes, I love this, and we'll share the clips as we go.
Okay.
So I think we each have 2 in mind.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, one for ourselves that we liked, and one that we liked for the other person.
Yeah. Here, I'll start with mine because then I want to do the one of you second. So a clip that I really like because it's a point that I really care about. Like there are a few moments we've had this season where we really just got to like nail a point that we care about.
Passionate about, yeah.
Like the chips on our shoulder have had some nice moments of catharsis on the show.
Yeah.
And so a big one that felt really good for me to get out, and then it got really good response from social media, was the Women Are Thriving clip. Okay. So we'll watch them. This is the number one thing that I would point to. Why women are thriving and why men are suffering. We are seeing the traditional roles of men and women obviously evolve and develop. And so in this conversation, which we talked plenty about, how men are falsely defining their masculinity as the absence of femininity, and because of this, they're just like, there's a huge chunk of their personal development that they are missing out on. Women are not doing that. Women do not have some toxic view that they need to reject all things masculinity at all. Women are recognizing that masculine traits are good and they are adopting them and developing them while also developing their feminine traits. And what do you know? Women are thriving in society. We could pull up a giant stat line of like how well women are doing, and it's amazing. And it's not because they retreated into their roles as women. It's because they are leaning into being holistic, full individuals who are creating the container for themselves and enriching their lives. They are disciplined and they are deep and vulnerable. They are intuitive and they're communicators. Like they are far more well-rounded than men are because they are not rejecting masculinity. Yeah, we'll just leave it right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Love that clip.
I do too.
That is a soapbox of yours.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this is a little bit of a can of worms. Honestly, we should have had a whole episode about the different views of masculinity and femininity, because there are two kind of main views that people look at. Some people use the term as masculinity to just address the experience of men, and femininity is just the experience of women. And so those things are unique to each of the sexes. My view of masculinity and femininity is that neither of them are unique to a sex. They are like a much bigger term than like human beings. It's a universal trait. While they are gendered traits, I'm talking about gender in terms of like language, not sex. I think masculine and femininity are both things that are essential to human beings.
Yeah.
And so they are different traits. Because the one that addresses men's experience, women's experience, those essentially are a little bit redundant. There's a Venn diagram where there's a lot of overlap in what that actually is because they're just humans.
Right.
I don't really like that. I like the idea of them being two very distinct, unique things, but that everybody can lean into.
Yeah.
The reason I like this more is because it's not exclusive. Nobody gets pushed into the margins of this. This isn't generalizing in a way that works for 900 people and leaves out 100.
Right.
Everybody fits into this.
Yeah.
Whether you're an incredibly effeminate gay man, whether you're a super strong straight dude, like whether you're a bisexual, effeminate woman one day and then you love to dress in another, like whatever the thing is, like masculine and femininity apply to everybody in these ways. It's just, it's fun to play with both, and they're both essential to everybody.
Yeah. I love that.
That's my view of that.
Yeah, and that's had a big impact on me. I mean, it made it into my opening statement on today's topic about how, men are rejecting traits that may be viewed as feminine and thereby cutting out half of their potential. And so, yeah, that's
I think part of that confusion, though, comes from these two different understandings of masculine and femininity.
Yeah.
Because if femininity is something that is unique to women, you could see why men would reject femininity as like, well, that's not me.
Yeah.
But I think that's incredibly unhealthy because like the traits that we might associate with women are good traits that men also need to adopt.
Right.
And so it's just, it's this weird little silly game that happens in language where insecure people,
Totally.
they're like, well, I'm not that. Anyway, so I really like that because that's where I see it's obvious. It's like there is no, whether it be like feminists or even like conservative women, none of them have some like philosophy that's discouraging them from masculine traits. Right. And as an effect, a consequence of that, women are doing great in society. Yeah. While men just look like idiots most of the time, as they're just these like really broken people who like don't allow themselves in like crucial things like feeling emotions, crying, being vulnerable. Not to say that's all that you need. Like I don't want to give some overly liberal take where it's like, all you need to do is be vulnerable and cry. It's like, no, you still need to be disciplined. You still need to be resilient. You still need to be strong and empower people. It's not just about, crying and being weepy, whatever. But like those things are very important.
Yeah, it matters. Incorporate that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that.
Okay.
All right.
What's your first clip?
Okay. My first clip is from the last episode, episode 9.
Okay.
Very recent clip. It's called Why Trump?
Oh, yeah.
Why will people fucking die on the hill of supporting this gross, orange, child molesting, fraudster, huckster, snake oil salesman, piece of absolute objective garbage?
I love how you're
Why? Why will people die on that hill? When I thought about, like, okay, who are the people who I love that much? Like, what hills will I die on, and who is it for? And for me, it's for the people who make me feel like I can be myself without judgment. The people who make me feel safe to unlock the innermost secrets and happiness and desires of my heart. Those are the people that I will die for. You're one of them, and there aren't very many of them. But it's the people that make me feel like that level of seen and safe and validated. And then it clicked. I'm like, oh, the people who will die on the hill of Trump are the people who he makes feel safe to unlock their innermost secrets and desires of their heart. And what are those secrets and desires? Fucking hate. Hate.
Yep.
The people whose hearts are full of hate are the ones who will forever die for Trump because he makes them feel like it's okay.
Yeah.
Tell me I'm wrong.
That's great.
Yeah. It's been so on my mind, this idea of why. Like the worse the Trump administration gets with just the most outlandish, insane fraud and what went on with ICE and the war in Iran. And it's just getting to the point of like ridiculousness. Yet he still has this like stubborn 30% of people who are like, well, if he's doing it, it must be right. And I'm just like, why? And I think you remember I got into like a heated discussion with the mother of a friend who was just dying on the hill of Trump. And it didn't matter what I brought up, to refute all of her points. At the end of the day, she's just like, well, if he does it, it must be right. And I just could not reconcile why. And then it finally clicked. And that's kind of what I said in that clip of just, hey, he allows hateful bigots to feel good about being hateful bigots. And we can all resonate with that, not with being hateful bigots, but with being told it's okay to be our authentic selves. And that feels good. Makes us feel safe, makes us feel seen, makes us feel loved. And we will always have loyalty to people who make us feel safe and seen and loved and validated. So that's all it is.
Yeah.
So anyway,
Yeah, I really like that one. And I'm glad to seeing it get some traction in that clip because I really like that. It's like weirdly empathetic, even as it is like pretty critical of those people, because it's trying to understand the actual psychology of what is happening and how people can become just apologists for evil.
Yeah.
And I think that's what it is. That's kind of just like the psychology of cults as well, where it's like there are parts of ourselves that if they feel threatened, if we haven't had an ability to fight back against this, if we feel like we're being truly wronged by the attitudes and the policies of a society, as soon as someone comes along who just validates that one thing, I will give him trust to do a blank check to do whatever he's going to do to fight back in this way that I was facing an existential threat within.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's powerful. It's scary.
Yeah.
Sad.
Okay. I think you're going to be surprised by what I chose for my second clip for you.
All right.
But this is a clip that not only was the response from people in the comments very strong, like this was different than just like, yeah, say more, King, or, whatever. This was like, it was that feeling of catharsis from women hearing something get said by a man that they had not heard more than any other. And it is your opening statement for Provider and Protector.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I remember this.
And another reason I really liked it is because I initially resisted it. And there's a part of me even still where I catch myself, I hear some of the points that you say in this clip, and I'm like, I can feel that like the petulant part of me resisting it. And so that's how you know it's powerful.
Good point.
So yeah, let's watch that.
Cool. Yeah, I felt really good about the engagement that got too. In the comments, like you said, just a lot of comments.
Now
Now let me tell you about the greatest protection racket in human history, the patriarchy.
Came out swinging.
Men spent millennia making the world dangerous for women through violence, through laws that stripped women of property rights and legal personhood, through economic systems that barred women from employment. And then men turned around and said, don't worry, ladies, the world is dangerous, but men will protect you. Protected from what? From men, from the systems men built, from the violence men commit, from the economic exclusion men enforce. 90% of violent crime committed by men. 90% of sexual assault. Yep, that's men. And let's talk numbers, because the transaction is even worse than it looks on the surface. So the median male breadwinner today in the USA makes about $65,000 a year. Economists have actually calculated the economic value of a homemaker's labor. Childcare, cooking, cleaning, household management, emotional support, scheduling. You know what that's worth? $185,000 a year. Nearly 3 times what he's providing. That's not providing for her, that's her subsidizing him. The fact that the moment women got legal rights, millions fled to the workplace tells you everything you need to know about how natural and fulfilling this arrangement really was. But let's talk about what provide and protect really does to women. It turns women into commodities. Women's affection becomes currency. Women's bodies become assets. Women's sexuality becomes something they trade for security. Sure, I'll cook your meals and raise your children and have sex with you that I don't always want to have. In exchange, you won't let me starve. That's not love. That's survival sex work with a marriage license. Want to know why conservative men are so threatened by women's economic independence? Because the whole game falls apart when women have options. When she can support herself, suddenly his providing isn't leverage anymore. When she can call the police or just leave, suddenly his protection isn't necessary. When she can say no without risking her survival, suddenly the transaction is exposed for what it always was. And that's what this is all really about. Provide and protect isn't about taking care of women. If it were, conservative men would support paid family leave, subsidized childcare, women's reproductive rights, and pay equity. They'd champion policies that actually help women and men thrive. So no, provide and protect isn't some noble masculine calling. It's a protection racket. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. It's commodification dressed up as chivalry, and it's a cage for everyone involved. It tells women they're weak and need protecting. It tells men they're only valuable if they're providing. It denies women's autonomy and denies men humanity.
Yes.
There's a couple things about that clip I like. One, I think it gives some like backing to this idea, this feeling that a lot of women have always had of like, I have performed decades of unpaid labor in this home that never gets acknowledged. Well, when I had the opportunity to go research the actual, like there are actual dollar amounts assigned to that. And what I think is funny is, no, it's not funny, it's fucking tragic. But I guarantee you most men who watch that clip will kind of roll their eyes a little bit.
Totally.
And be like, oh, $185,000. Okay, well, sure. Yeah, if I go hire like a personal chef and professional house cleaners and tutors for my kids, then yeah, I guess it would cost that much. And they completely discount that that's actually what their fucking wife is doing.
Yeah.
Like she's doing all that stuff and she's doing it probably better than most of those professionals would do it because she cares. She's invested in that home. Mm-hmm. But most men will look at that and roll their eyes and be like, no, it's not really $185,000. She doesn't clean the house that well. She doesn't cook that great. Mm-hmm. And that boils my blood.
Yeah.
So that's kind of point one. And then point two is just talking about transactional relationships. And we're going to get into that in season 2. Mm-hmm. It's definitely a soapbox of mine. Mm-hmm. Just that idea of like trading one thing for another in a relationship.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm proud of that clip. I think it resonated and I liked it.
Yeah. Yeah, I really like it because it is pretty loud.
Yeah.
It's not being delicate about it. It's not just like going inch by inch on like, well, maybe if you consider this, it's just straight up like provide and protect is a protection racket. Yeah. Like you have built a system that has made people dependent upon you, and your attitude towards empowering them, liberating women is fucking defensive. It's because you're benefiting from the system where this person is just being hamstrung.
Yeah.
And that's just like a really important, it's like on the process of deconstructing patriarchy, it's important to get gut punch messages like that to really like force you into being uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I don't want to provide like a perfectly diplomatic, flowery opening statement every time I want men to think a little deeper. Sometimes it takes just like hitting them in the face with some hard truths.
Yeah.
And so I really like that one.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah.
There is a time and a place. One of the things that, back to Levi, that Levi said was maybe we could try having a little more empathy for some of the people who have been red-pilled like him.
Mm-hmm.
And I hear that, and I'm trying to get there. You've always been a little more empathetic than me. I'm usually more like, oh, those guys are fucking losers.
Mm-hmm.
And I still kind of think that. But I'm coming around to trying to have more empathy. But I think that's one of those places where, no, you got to hit hard.
Yeah.
Or it's not going to land.
Mm-hmm. And it's tough. My opinion on this changes like by the day.
Yeah.
Because like I've been making content about hating Trump for 10 years.
Yeah.
Dead serious. And I've tried every approach. I've talked to a lot of people. Like I have friends and family who voted for him, who are in support of it. And I've tried every approach. I've taken curious. I've taken empathetic. I've taken delicate. I've also taken bullying people.
Yeah.
And the bullying usually comes from just being like out of patience.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, fuck you, idiots. But I think some people respond to different things.
Yeah.
And so I kind of like that you and I have taken a myriad of different approaches with some of these subjects. Because there are some guys, who don't want to hear you're a fucking idiot. And there's some guys who need to hear it.
Yeah.
That you need to hear from a man that says, I know who you are and what you believe. And because of those things, I think you are a fucking idiot. Like some men need to hear that. And I'm saying that sincerely right now.
Yeah.
So, but then there are some men who they need what their grievances are or the things that they're hung up on to be validated before they can move on from it.
Yeah.
And I get that.
Yeah.
Because even me, even though I would consider myself on the left, I do have a lot of frustrations with the left too.
Sure.
I'm not over here just stoked with what's happening with Democrats. Far from it.
Totally.
I have grievances over there as well.
Yeah.
So I definitely get it.
Yeah, I mean, male loneliness epidemic is a good example of that. Where I think it's important to be like, okay, men, we acknowledge that some of you are lonely. That lots of you are killing yourselves. We acknowledge that. We're not saying fake news, but let's talk about why. And so I think it's important to start with that empathy of hey, we get that this is happening. That opens the door to some dialogue about it, rather than just saying "fuck you," you're not lonely enough, that kind of thing. So yeah. Well, but speaking of hard hitting, the last clip that I have for you, I love this clip. It was, I think, our most viewed clip. It was the one that got reshared a couple times. It's called "Men Suffer Under
Millions
Patriarchy."
of men who are killing themselves at 4 times the rate of women.
Men are killing themselves because of men, not because of women.
Men are killing themselves because they feel devalued, they feel like trash, they feel objectified for finances, they feel not good enough physically, they feel subject to all these double standards. They're not good enough, they can't possibly live up, they're garbage.
This
literally
is not true.
being told, kill all men. You think that
This
has
is not
nothing
true.
to do with it?
No.
Nothing to do with it.
No, because men and women report similar rates of being depressed, but men report far greater levels of not being willing to seek out mental health help, while women
Because
are
they're
far
not
more
taken seriously.
No, because they've been literally taught not to express their emotions, not to regulate their emotions, and not to seek help when they are suffering.
Taught by liberals who tell them they don't matter.
Fucking patriarchy. This is something that has been purported by men, and it is making men suffer. Men are also victims under patriarchy, just like women are. trying to claim that liberals are at all responsible for men committing suicide is fucking ridiculous. Again, it's men trying to shirk accountability for the bullshit system that they've set up. Men are being completely failed by the system that they find themselves born into, that says that you're not allowed to express femininity, that you're not allowed to lean into your emotions or in your feelings, these things that are fucking critical to living a meaningful, happy life. And instead they're living these robotic soldier type lives where they would rather kill themselves than express their sadness and work through it with a friend, with a partner, with a therapist, with whoever. That is a direct cause of patriarchy and of toxic masculinity than it is even close remotely to being the liberals or the women's fault.
Okay.
All right. That clip that's from The Ring, I think it lands because I'm making a very passionate argument that's very common on the conservative side, and you absolutely fucking destroy it. Passionately, eloquently, and that clip has millions of views.
Yeah.
I think it got reposted on Reddit. It got reposted on a couple other platforms, and really...
We got like 6 million views just from the couple clips I know of.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, tens of thousands of comments too.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one. That was another one of those like chip on my shoulder moments.
Oh, yeah.
And you did a great job of like dragging it out of me by kind of like just like getting passionate on the other side too.
Yeah.
Because I know that the people on the other side do passionately believe the exact things that you were saying. They're not over there just like apathetically being like they genuinely believe those things.
Yeah.
Incredibly misguided, but yeah, that's a good one.
That to me is an example of a clip that it does hit hard, but it could actually change some minds. You know, that one gives me goosebumps because I think you just fucking crush it. It's kind of what we're going for on this podcast. It's not really rage baity. It's two sides being, I think, accurately represented, and I think showing which side is in the right.
I would like to follow up on that quite a bit. I think that a lot of men struggle with the term patriarchy. They don't totally understand it. And you can see a similar like psychological resistance that they have that's similar to like racism or when we have conversations about slavery, because it's like, you keep saying this system that I created or that I set up. I didn't set any of this up.
Right.
Like I was not at some board meeting where we made these decisions.
Right.
And I can see that that's where they get hung up. Where they're like, I didn't choose this. But when they talk about a system being set up, it's like, this is the accumulation of attitudes that don't get checked.
Yeah.
And it's these bad attitudes, these bad systems, these biases that never get checked. And because people just are in autopilot on their own lives, it will continue like a stalactite that's growing. And that's what patriarchy is it's just like this accrued, cumulative thing of these attitudes and systems where men have leaned into their privilege and their power and exploited it. And anyway, so I would love to talk about that more because I know that patriarchy is a really important subject for women and that men, I would say for the most part, don't understand.
Don't understand that well.
Yeah.
I agree with you. All right, well, good stuff. I think we wanted to do a couple more things tonight. I had a couple of little things that bugged me from the season when I watched episodes back, and it's just a couple of fact checks. There's probably many that we've missed that maybe you guys have seen, but the two that were the most egregious that jumped out to me were we ended up having sort of a not all men conversation, even though we didn't necessarily have a not all men episode, but
Which we will.
But in episode 7, we were talking about violent crime.
Yeah.
And I was still manning the conservative side and basically saying like, hey, yeah, I get that most violent crime and sexual crime is committed by men, but it's committed by a very small percentage of men, 1% to 2%. That's drastically wrong.
Yeah.
So I wanted to kind of explain where that came from and give the correct statistics,
Okay.
if you don't mind.
Do it.
So the 1% to 2%, where that comes from is I did a little deeper research. There are about 750,000 registered sex offenders who are men in the United States. that represents about 0.5% of the male population, adult male population of this country. So there's 0.5% right there. And then every year, on average, there's about 1.2 to 1.3 million violent or sexual crimes committed by men. So that's another 1% of the male adult population.
Okay.
So between those two numbers, that's the 1.5%. So that's the 1 to 2% that I was referencing.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what I was omitting accidentally is that's just a 1 year sample.
Right.
So if you now go look at the entire male population and account for how many men who are currently alive have ever committed a violent or a sexual crime against a woman, that number goes up 10 times.
Wow.
So it goes from 1.5% to about 15%.
Mm-hmm.
So if you go into a room with 100 men, about 15 of them have been convicted of a violent or a sexual crime against a woman. Now it gets worse. There have been multiple rigorous peer-reviewed studies that have shown that violent and sexual crime against women is 80% underreported.
Yeah.
So 80% of those crimes don't even go reported, let alone lead to convictions. Do that math, take that 80% and attach it to the 15% of all men who have been convicted of one of those crimes. It's actually about 50% of men who have likely committed a violent or sexual crime against a woman.
Wow.
It's half. It's a fucking coin flip to be a woman and to risk associating with a man who has committed a violent or a sexual crime.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
So when anybody wants to say not all men,
Yeah.
okay, yeah. Nobody's literally saying 100% of men have committed violent sexual crime, but it's half.
Mm-hmm.
That's a fucking lot. That's embarrassing. I'm ashamed. It's horrifying. I don't even know how to feel about it.
Yeah. And that's just addressing the people who are actually doing the crimes.
Mm-hmm.
But there are a whole lot more men who are complicit in enabling
Sure.
a culture and attitudes and jokes and locker room talk and all the things that embolden those 50%.
Right.
The men to do that.
That's
and
a
so
great point.
when we factor in all of those people, I mean, we're getting closer to all men.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like this
Yeah.
isn't 2%. We're talking about probably 80% of men. Like that's a number I would put on as far as being complicit in committing it or helping sustain it.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you take it to the most extreme example of ever participating in any kind of a joke or inappropriate humor that demeaned women or made them uncomfortable, honestly, it's probably 1 to 2% of men who haven't done something like that.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
So,
And I mean, I'm not going to pretend like I'm the sacred 1 to 2%.
sure.
Like, I've made plenty of, I've had, a chapter in my life where I was definitely just like indulging that kind of bullshit and making the jokes and
totally.
and feeling superior and all that stuff. I mean, I was raised in Mormonism, and Mormonism is just everywhere.
Inherently exploitative and horrible towards women.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just like very patronizing in 100 different ways where it's just like, well, of course women are not going to be the leaders of this country because that's not what they were made for.
No.
That's not, they can't do
They're
that.
just
That's not
sacred,
what they do.
special birthing creatures.
Little helpers.
Yeah.
Yeah. Uh-huh. Even though women are the ones who provided life to everyone on earth, we're going to give thanks to a fictitious male god for providing life on earth.
Right.
Nope. Women provided all the life on earth. Maybe women should have some representation in your fucking godhead, you psychos.
Seriously.
Sorry.
Nice tangent.
Random
That's a good
thing.
one.
But yeah, that's a good fact check.
Yeah.
Because I know that we almost immediately after that episode were like,
Well, there are a lot of comments.
That
like,
too, yeah.
Like just people being like, 1 to 2% seems really low. You sure about that, guys?
Right.
And I'm like, I'm not sure about that, actually.
I mean, you claiming that on the conservative steel man, I think is still authentic.
Oh, for sure.
It's
Think
the
that.
wrong stat, but like when we steel man, we do need to be presenting the facts even when they are wrong.
True.
The facts, because that's what that side is clinging to.
Oh, 100%.
You know, this is worth clarifying too, because the other fact check that I wanted to do was from the homophobia episode, because you mentioned the nuclear family
Yes.
studies. And that's one of the most common comments in that
yeah.
section is everybody is like, what studies? Show them to me. They've brought up contrary studies that have shown that same-sex parents, their kids actually show better outcomes.
Yeah.
And so just to clarify, sometimes in our steel man arguments, we are purposely using cherry pick studies or referencing a study, but then not actually knowing what it is because that's what the people on those ends of the arguments do.
Yeah.
That's what I did when you brought up the Wheatley study
Right.
and the bogus study thing. I alluded to a study as though I had the facts on my side, but as soon as you asked me about it, I didn't know what the hell I was talking about.
Right.
Which to
Very
me
authentic
is an
portrayal. Yes.
yeah, is
Yes.
an authentic portrayal.
Yeah.
So that's what that is for the people who are listening to this episode.
Yeah. Yeah. And I would say usually that's intentional. And then sometimes I just didn't know.
We have flubs. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
So it happens.
Nice.
Okay. Well, this has been good. I think last thing on our agenda, and I want to leave this to you, is to kind of talk about what is next for
Yes.
Fallacies, what's next for us, and all that.
So when this podcast was just a glimmer in our eyes, it initially had started as an idea where we're like, I wish we could provide an almanac to being a good man in the 2020s that is more rooted in good values, and it's not the manosphere, it's not the red pill. And that doesn't mean it has to be some whitewashed thing that's not fun, that's not sexy, that's not whatever. Let's just have real man-to-man conversations about dating, about sex, about anatomy, about orgasms, about money, about all the things that men kind of care about and that make up what their experience is. And we can kind of provide a cool approach to it.
Yeah, how to talk to girls, how to show up in a relationship,
Yeah.
how to be a good partner.
That it doesn't just always have to be from this weird neutered perspective that's not cool or sexy.
Yeah.
There's a way to be a good man and still be cool and sexy and successful and care about money and all of those things. You can do both.
Yeah.
And so that's where this idea kind of started from. And then it quickly got pretty political, but we want season 2, which will still be political just because everything cultural is political these days. But season 2, all of our topics are going to fall under love, sex, and relationships. So there is your teaser for the topics that you might expect in season 2. But we also are going to be expanding what we're doing a little bit. We're going to be doing a second show. And the bigger thing, we are going to be bringing on a third host.
I'm so excited about this.
Yeah. And so we will see if this show itself is still called Fallacies or if maybe we come up with a more general name. What do we name the other show? But we are bringing in a third person, and it is a close friend of both of ours, and she is an incredibly powerful creator. She's a talented writer, and she just has legitimately one of the most impressive fuck you attitudes on social media.
Yeah.
What she's doing with her social media presence is so awesome. And it is not for the faint of heart. If there are men listening to this who don't do well when you get called an idiot and don't do well when you get told not to be a creep, then get ready for season 2 because we are bringing in the specialist of not coddling men's egos.
Yes.
And in the edit, we're going to cut to maybe a little sizzle reel right here. And we're back from that sizzle reel. We'll see if I actually do the sizzle reel. But this creator goes by the name Uncertainly Carly online. You may have seen her stuff on TikTok, Instagram, Substack.
Facebook.
She
loves Facebook because that's where you get all the worst conservative men commenting.
It's brutal.
It's
It's
rough.
a different ecosystem of
Oh my
engagement
God.
on Facebook.
Some of the comments she gets are so just, what the fuck? So discouraging that people are, she handles it great. She either laughs about it, ignores it, or fucking skewers them and always wins.
Yeah.
But to me, I'm like, damn, the confidence she has to just absorb that and roll with it
Totally.
is interesting.
Yeah, Carly has the most thick skin, and she's not afraid to engage with creeps and these people that hate him. She makes a point to elicit these really like childish, gross responses from men by calling them out and then by sharing their profiles, by just like being merciless and trying to hold them accountable. And I like it because it really does bring out like the Mr. Hyde side of so many men.
Yeah.
These just pathetic, gross, most often ugly fucking men who are trying to call her ugly when she's fucking gorgeous. And that just like shows you the extent of men's insecurities who go out of their way to try and call her out on some superficial ad hominem attack.
She is so intensely triggering
Yes.
to insecure men.
Yes, she is.
It's like a litmus test. Like if you ever want to know if a man is a secure man, just have him hang out with Carly.
Yep.
And you'll find out.
Yep,
'Cause
exactly.
she's made fun of me a lot, called me out on stuff, and a lot of times it's just good-natured teasing, and there have been some things that are like actual friend to friend, like, hey, we should talk about this.
Absolutely.
I value her friendship so much. I think she's amazing. I really think our listeners will benefit tremendously from what she brings. I think we'll benefit tremendously from what she brings. It's going to make me feel a lot better about the conversation as a whole, where it's not just two white men in an echo chamber.
Right.
As enlightened as we hope we are, and we try to be, having Carly here to be a check and a balance, to provide that voice, that wisdom, that perspective, I think is just going to add so much to what we do.
Yeah. Everything that we talked about today, as far as like what makes a strong person, Carly embodies.
Oh, yeah.
She's somebody who I just respect on a deep level as a creator, a creative, as a parent, as a woman, as so many different things. And so there's a lot of conversations I cannot wait to get into.
Yeah.
And one that we actually put off, we were going to have an episode this season be Not All Men. And we purposely put it off because I'm not just exaggerating when I say this. I see Carly as a foremost authority in the world on Not All Men. This is a person who has purposely provoked and engaged with the triggered responses of men around Not All Men. As she tries to call out men, she has had her comments and her DMs flooded with hundreds, if not thousands of comments from every color and variation of a Not All Men triggered response that you've ever seen.
Oh, yeah.
That you could ever come up with. She is the master of it. And so I'm so excited to have an episode in season 2 all about Not All Men that we will get deep into.
Absolutely. And I think she's going to have a lot of great insights on other topics related to love, sex, and dating. She's spent a bunch of time on the apps. She's deconstructed Mormonism.
Yep.
She has done so much that is going to, I think, provide so much value.
Yep.
So I'm still wondering why she agreed to do this with us.
I know.
But thank you, Carly. We're
Yep.
very lucky. We're super stoked.
Yeah.
I know. Yeah, it's going to be great.
Cool.
Yeah.
And one of our first concerns when we sat down with her is we were like, look, we know it might not be the best thing for your brand to join forces with two white dudes who have a podcast that has a dick as the logo. Oh, God.
Yeah, maybe she'll help us deconstruct that.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I don't know.
So there is your plug for season 2. We have some exciting things coming. And just as a reminder, again, we read every comment. We try to read every DM that we get. And we are listening. And so it's what started as an experiment with these 10 episodes. We're starting to get a really good idea from the responses from people of like, okay, here's what we need to do. Like if we're trying to have a positive impact on both men and women, we're starting to figure it out. And it's because you guys have given us such amazing engagement up to this point.
Totally.
So don't stop. Specifically commenting on Spotify, rating the podcast is incredibly helpful to us.
Yeah.
I think we only have like 10 ratings.
Oh, really?
Which is kind of funny for how many views we get. But yeah, if you don't mind doing that, that's super helpful. Leave a comment. And, we would love it if you continue to influence the show.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Season 1 was a blast. Thanks to you, my bestie.
Thanks to you.
This has been a great time. I've just enjoyed our usually Wednesday nights together doing this, talking about it on our road trips. It's been a lot of fun. Thanks to everybody who's listened and commented. I've learned a ton, and I'm stoked for season 2.
Cool.
All right, homie.
Nice. I'll take a fake sip of my empty cup.
I know. You're saying that.
Okay. Over and out. Fallacies. Out. Trigger the outro music.
Fallacies, 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 fallacies.